Welcome to today's live attorney chat. My name is attorney Desiree Koger Gustafson with Immigration for Couples. If you are new to our firm or new to our Facebook page, we regularly host these Facebook live chats to answer questions or talk about new topics that we've been hearing throughout the weeks, or even some new breaking news with regard to immigration. Our firm is dedicated exclusively to assisting couples navigate the immigration process and kind of holistically serving those couples with all sorts of different things, including naturalization, which is the topic for today, discussing eligibility for naturalization. If you are joining me live, please feel free to put comments into the comment section. We'll try to answer questions that may come in there, as well as if it's a larger, lengthier topic, of course, then we might do a whole separate live chat on that, and I will be addressing one of those next week. So today, discussing eligibility for naturalization, there are some general requirements, and then I'll kind of go back through those in more detail. So generally, you would need to be at least 18 years of age. You would have to be a legal permanent resident of the U.S. You would need to demonstrate the required physical presence for a specific time period, and that could be number of years as well as continuous residence. You would have to meet the filing jurisdiction for your area. You would have to demonstrate good moral character, a basic knowledge of the U.S. history and of government, as well as the ability to read, write, speak, and understand the English language, basic English. And then, of course, be willing to take an oath. So let's dive a little bit into more detail for each of those. So, of course, we've got the 18 years of age requirement for naturalization. There is a process by which children can become naturalized or receive a certificate of citizenship, and that would maybe be a whole different topic for a different day, but there is that possibility. And then you have the legal permanent residence requirements of the U.S., and this would be that you've demonstrated you've been a legal permanent resident for the required period of time. So physical presence requirement really is for either 5 years or 3 years if you are married to a U.S. citizen and you haven't left the U.S. for trips of more than 6 months. So what does this mean? So physical presence itself means that you must have been in the U.S. for a certain number of months in order to be eligible. And it really is measured in the total number of days. So you must also meet the 3 years citizenship requirement for your spouse as well. So let's say that you're married to a U.S. citizen and you want to apply for naturalization within that 3 years. That spouse needs to also have been a citizen for the prior 3 years. So there's kind of the two-pronged requirement there. So if you're getting your citizen based on that spouse within the 3 years instead of waiting the 5 years, then that person would also need to be a citizen for 3 years. So the second kind of part of the physical presence requirement is the continuous residence. And this means that you've not left the U.S. for a long period of time. And there are lots of nuances to this. And so that might be something that if you have traveled a lot or you've stayed outside the U.S. for a period of time, you might want to seek some more additional guidance before moving forward with your application, just to make sure you meet that requirement as well. You need to have a long enough time lawfully present in the U.S. without a break. A lot of times, a myth that I hear is, well, I never stayed out longer than 6 months. And while that is generally true, if you are staying for 5 months, 5.5 months, and then coming back in for maybe 2 weeks and then you go back out again, then you may not have built up enough continuous residence in the United States in order to be able to apply. So something to keep in mind. Also, another myth that I hear a lot with that is, well, I filed for a reentry permit just to make sure that I didn't mess up my or lose my green card while I went abroad, but I thought I might be there for more than 6 months because my mother is ill or some sort of other circumstance that caused that. You can break that continuous residence even if you have filed for and gotten a reentry permit for your time coming back. So lots of different nuances there, just something to talk about with or seek some additional guidance if you run in or fall into any of those situations. So let's go back then to kind of our fourth general requirement, which is meeting the filing jurisdiction. So wherever you are filing from within the US for naturalization, you have to have been in that jurisdiction for at least 3 months. So you have to have had residence there. If you have just moved, then you would need to wait the 3 months to file in that location. So our kind of the last and one of the more talked about general requirements is the basic knowledge of demonstrating the basic knowledge of US history or government. So this is a civics test. There's also the ability to read, write, speak, and understand the basic English language. Those are tested kind of in different ways during the actual naturalization interview. So you can go ahead and apply knowing you're kind of close on those things. If you feel like, okay, my basic understanding of English is coming along, I'm in ESL classes, I know that I'm going to be meeting that requirement, you can study while your naturalization application is pending. And then at the interview, they will take you through the civics exam as well as the English reading and then writing the English language. There are, again, some exceptions to that. If you are over the age of 50 and maybe struggling with learning that English language, that's something else to maybe get some more additional guidance on, because there are some exceptions that might be eligible for you or that you might be eligible for. So just kind of being aware of that and knowing that that's out there. The last requirement would be that you're willing to take an oath. The oath basically is 3 parts. You are renouncing any foreign allegiances. You are stating that you will support the U.S. Constitution and that you will serve the U.S. If that is needed or if you are called to do so. I get lots of questions about, will I have dual citizenship, or is that allowed in the U.S., or do I have to give up my home country citizenship? And right now, that is not a requirement when you take the oath or to get naturalization. There are also some other nuances that you might, depending on your circumstance, you might have to deal with within your application. One popular one that I hear a lot about is name changes. A lot of times people have come and they maybe were married abroad and really wanted to change their name to match their spouses, or to adding in their spouse's name happens quite frequently. But due to just the way that would have to have happened in their home country or their passport, and there might have been travel issues because their passport was issued in a maiden name or the name that matched the birth certificate, now would be the time to do that. You can always change your name, but it is a separate court filing, and it is additional expense as well, and some hoops you have to run through also. So naturalization is a really good time to change your name if you're wanting to do so. Another thing that comes up frequently is the selective service. And so that's a little nuance that you might want to seek some guidance from if you are a male here in the US between the ages of 26 and 31, you would have had to send in your register for selective service. And so you'll have to possibly have that letter stating that you did do that in addition to your naturalization application. I would encourage you to visit our webpage if you have any questions or if something else comes up, we have lots of resources in the resource tab, lots of videos just like we're making today that explain other nuances throughout the immigration process that you may run across, and also give you a little bit of background information just so you have some knowledge when you're seeking assistance with things as well. So please rewatch this video if you're watching it, tag hashtag replay, and like, share, comment our page. We would appreciate it. Thanks so much. Have a great day.